Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GT3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. We have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there. The chicane as a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, SRA, to Season 7, Race 1. An exciting time to be commentating for D4. My name's Caden. I'm here with my boy, Maniacal Toaster. You all know and love him. Why don't you say something, Toasty?
Hello, everyone. It's my first time commentating. I'm happy to be here with Caden. This is going to be the best commentary of this, well, not of the season, because we're going to do a better one every week, but of SRA for sure. I'm excited.
Lots and lots to look forward to. We get the absolute pleasure of commentating for a very, very fast division coming up. Gonna make me look as slow as I actually am. Maybe I can pull some tips and tricks and get faster, especially since I'm racing on Wednesdays now. And can hopefully pull off some stuff coming up here.
Yeah, that's true, considering we get to watch some of the faster people race before we do. Maybe we can see where their reference points are and spot the differences. That'd be kind of cool.
Exactly right. I'm gonna start taking off every Wednesdays just so I can sweat out the last couple of minutes of everything.
I might actually have to join you, right? Or sleep, for that matter.
Exactly. We're gonna have 24 hours of D7 sweating.
And if it doesn't make us better, it'll at least make us more entertaining.
Entertaining is what we're looking for. Let's say we should be wrapping up the driver's briefing here before too long. We'll get into our qualifying stint coming up. Gonna be pretty exciting. First one of the season. I'm sure we're gonna see some epic carnage.
I'll just say, looking at the leaderboards leading up to this race for the hot lap and the hot stint, there's times all over the map. I mean, we're posting, or they're posting, everything from D2 all the way to D7 and D8 reference times. So I'm really curious to see if these are one-offs or if these are going to be like consistent times they can replicate, in their 3-4 laps that they get for qualifying here.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see coming up what's going to be going on. I mean, we were talking about it a bit earlier about how these track conditions seem to eat tires up real quick. So those guys putting down 57s, 58s may be better off throughout the race as long as they're not overly pushing their car.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, over the faster guys that may have to take tires halfway through the race. So it's going to be interesting to see where all the strategy comes, especially with the brand new update coming out, all of our physics changes that we've had. And it really changed the game up, having to learn it new when trying to qualify for this next season.
Yeah, that's actually a good point on the physics update, Caden, that you said. I wonder how many people actually ran solid 1 hour or 1 hour or more practice races to see how much the tire wear might have changed. We know the physics changed, obviously, and we know that everyone saw the physics adjustments. But full 1 hour race stints where you don't reset when you spin out or crash into a wall or anything like that. I wonder if there's been a lot of that in this season so far, or this leading up to this race, or not.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be one, and what a track to start this out for. We're gonna hop over here. Paul Ricard, who could have asked? Who could have asked for a better one? It's truly the long straight's going to be real interesting throughout today. Was seeing really good drafting abilities, being able to pull around people just getting the speed through the track. It's a fun track with a really technical third section coming into it that's really gonna make for some interesting racing.
It really is, and that, like you said, that technical third section, I'm really interested in seeing people coming off that long straight with the advantages to the cars with the higher top speed versus the ones that go into corners better. And then if you miss that sweeping right hander off that long straight, I mean that'll one, it'll eat your tires. Two, it'll also easily add seconds to your lap time, not just tenths. I mean, you're looking at a full second if you mess it up.
Yeah, especially that long sweeping right corner after the straight. It's very much so you either nail it or you're going to be losing a couple of tenths around that corner, and especially as the tires wear out more, you really got to be close into it to be able to nail that corner section. Otherwise, you may lose out on that third section going through and start losing positions.
Yep, bring you back around to the front, and you end up getting passed after messing that section up. You're really going to be kicking yourself, because there's not really a whole lot of places to pass cleanly, unless somebody invalidates, of course, in that third section. But once you come back around the front there, that's where you got that another straightaway that if you come out of the last turn there, turn 13 straight, or well, I should say, then you're going to set yourself up nicely.
Absolutely. It's gonna be interesting seeing where this race goes today.
If you're not excited yet, there's something wrong.
Exactly. We should be starting to see a couple of people hop into our session here, so we should be getting some qualifying come up here before too long. Definitely get the adrenaline pumping. First race of season 7. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing how all these drivers progress throughout everything and where times lead up. I can't wait for the Shoei videos at the end of the season this year.
Right?
Speaking of Shoei videos, we gotta talk about yours for just a second. Obviously, one of the best ones that SRA has ever seen in their entire 6-season history, going into the 7th, and obviously people are gonna have to try to top this at the end of the season. How did you come up with it?
I mean, I appreciate that. It was honestly a lot of fun to come up with. Somehow it was kind of one of those random things I put together. I thought of the most ridiculous things I could, and the goggles, which I think somebody called out, was a touch from another game that I play with some of the other people from SRA. But otherwise, it's kind of like the craziest thing you could do with the toaster. Thought of the movie Groundhog Day. Kind of thought of, I don't know, bubble baths with Groundhog Day. Kind of a morbid thought, but it was meant humorously, and it is not plugged in. It was not plugged in when I did this video. And then a loaf of bread, because toast comes from make toast out of bread. And I feel like that was got around that shoey requirement, so I didn't actually have to drink out of a shoe. I got to drink out of a loaf of bread, which was I feel like a nice unique touch on it.
That's definitely a good touch. I think a lot of drivers were probably kicking themselves after the fact that they couldn't have themselves a nice loafer instead of a work shoe for the day. So. Oh
man, yeah. Some of those shoes look very well worn. And I mean, hats off to them, honestly, that they committed. I'll give them that. That was impressive.
It was definitely a fun reveal stream and a great way to get hyped up for season 7 coming into it now. Gonna be a wonderful season. I can't wait. We got some good track lineups coming up, a couple of curveballs coming in. I'm not a huge fan of wet racing, but I know a lot of people really enjoy it. We're gonna have to see how all that goes.
Yeah. Caden, to a point you brought up a few minutes ago about the this being the first race of the season, I was gonna say you and I both raced Division 6 of Season 6, and I know I had an incredibly rough start to the season. My first 3 races were, abysmal. And as you said, I ended up with a shoey. And I know you placed fairly high in Division 6 as well towards the end there. So it's like, I feel like the first couple races sets a precedence and can launch you, but also there's still a lot of time, a lot of races left to improve and, really make up for lost time. Or I don't want to call it lost time, but make up for, races that just sometimes they just don't go well. Everyone has a favorite track. Everyone also has a least favorite track.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna say first couple of races, especially coming in as a first season here. Definitely a rough start, having to learn the racecraft, trying to get into the groove of things, um, and learn how to race really is the big one. And then as
Absolutely.
you progress through the season, learning different drivers and how they drive, and being able to bounce off that and use that and be able to either exploit or know you're a little bit over your head and you probably need to back off these guys a little bit throughout the season. It becomes so much more in depth when you start really understanding your fellow drivers in your division, being able to race off of them and keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, building that camaraderie, that decorum with all the other racers where you kind of know who you can get really close to and who you can kind of unnerve, I guess is the right word, when you're like really getting close to them, like really trying to put pressure on them. You know who's going to break and who's going to be like, haha, I know, I got your number, and then they don't let you by. It's like that really gets it for me. That was one of my favorite parts. It's not placing well specifically, but like those tight races. The tight racing is easily my favorite part.
Yeah, for me personally, it really came out when we started having our Mountain Mayhem sessions.
Oh yeah.
Late into it, where you can really start telling where you can kind of push some of these corners and get past some of these drivers, and which ones
Absolutely.
that you need to really defend hard and do well, otherwise you're going to lose a couple of those positions.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about how much fun racing on Bathurst was last season. That was man, there was no margin for error on some sections of that track, and like you got close to somebody, you were really counting on them to hold their own so that you didn't end up hitting them if they hit a wall or spun out or anything. They take out a whole line of cars.
Yeah, that dreaded Bentley corner as you just come down the mountain there, it gets you every time.
Wall came out of nowhere.
Exactly. There's too many walls on that track.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you on that one. But
Say
it
that
did.
is
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that is one of those tracks that I would not mind seeing coming up in future seasons of SRA.
See, I'm inclined to agree with you again. It was easily my least favorite when the first, I don't know, 20 some odd laps I ran in it. And then you kind of adjust to it and you realize that, you know, it's actually it's not forgiving, but man, it's fun. It's exhilarating.
Yeah,
Uh
it's so much fun.
Coming through the tighter sections where you're running on I personally I feel like you're running more on faith that you're on the right track versus that you're actually able to see your reference points, because a lot of the blind corners, especially coming down the mountain, were super tight hairpins.
Exactly.
And then when you hit those correctly, it was just so gratifying. Like, yes, and come out onto that long straight, and it's just like home sweet home.
Looks like we're right about ready to start up our qualifying section here. Got all the drivers in. We got the last lap coming around the corner, so we'll be swapping over. I'll be interested to see kind of as this season starts here what these drivers are going to be putting down. We were
Absolutely.
I was monitoring the session before. I was seeing some 154s sitting in here. I was seeing a lot of really fast times coming into it. It's can't wait to see where it progresses and where some of these people start placing in here. We're gonna really get to find who's the fast hop lappers, and then by the end of the race here, we're gonna get to see who really can sit on that consistency saddle and keep going.
That's really going to be it. Is do you push it the whole way, posting the fastest lap, like you were saying, risking wearing out your tires, or do you kind of go moderately easy, stick with the middle of the pack, and just try to finish top 15 and see what happens at the end? Time will
Exactly.
tell.
Let's say let's hop over and start watching a couple of our boys here. So it looks like we've got, should be our silver division hopping out onto the racetrack here. Gonna start some of our qualifying up. First of all, I mean, new season, new liveries. We gotta really appreciate a lot of these coming up. Got a lot of really cool liveries sitting in here this season that some people have definitely sunk some time into.
Yeah, they really have. Some of the theme of season 7 is space. And you can tell by some of these liveries that some people really owned that space-themed livery.
It's a fun, big, open kind of category that we can stick it into. I mean, there was definitely for the reveal stream this season, we have seen a wide variety of how people kind of take a lot of these. I mean, you give a theme like space and you get however many different sessions that we had going here. I mean, we had everything from Star Wars. We had a little bit of Spaceballs thrown in here, which I absolutely loved. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
unfortunately, Office Space didn't quite make it into it, but that may have been a little out of touch of what SRA was really wanting from us.
Office Space would have been a nice call out. That would have been fantastic.
We're getting some of our outlaps going in here. Gonna have some fun tracks coming up. Gonna have to follow a couple of these drivers. I'm loving the way this AMG looks. That's such a nice livery. Love the blue with the contrasting yellow on it. It's looking really nice.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see here. Oh, I like that purple too. Man, they really do have nice contrasts and groupings of colors too. I mean, I know it's such a simple thing, but also such a pleasing thing to the eye.
Exactly. Such a nice livery set this year. Everything is so well done. Especially with the addition of the new DLC cars, we have one guy here, Walkowitz, spinning out on his outlap.
Don't do it.
Hurt him a little bit. Know that feeling all too well, unfortunately.
Ain't that the truth? I was gonna say, with some of the endurance races SRA holds, the you only get the same set of tires, or a certain number of tires for the entire event. It's a good thing with qualifying in these races that you get an individual set of tires for qualifying, because that section to Paul Ricard will absolutely destroy your tires, and spinning out on that right before the race start would be very detrimental.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a tough balance for people really wanting to push those corners. I mean, there's some of those corners that you can squeeze some time out if you're really pushing it to the end, but
absolutely,
it's all to a detriment of your tires coming into it. And with an hour-long race, it's
is it worth the
be
gamble?
A rough ride.
We're looking at, I have Curtis Adams pulled up.
I'm bouncing between a couple of these drivers here as we get out. We just started seeing some lap times. It looks like our first best here is going to be a 155.6 to start out D4 Silver coming out here.
Couple 3 156s coming out too. Oh, there they go. Now we're populating.
Yeah, we got a couple 155s, 156s coming in. We got a 157. We got a quick start to the start of the qualifying session here.
Oh, so it was, you and I were talking about the reference laps times posted on the SRI website and how broad they were. So far, based on the lap times, it's looking like everyone's grouping pretty close. 155, 156. There's one 157.3. But otherwise,
yeah, we got about a 1.7 second pace disparity right now coming into it. Definitely going to be an interesting, just like we were talking with the consistency. I mean, how much can these drivers hold up a 155 throughout an entire hour-long race?
And I am eager to find out.
Is it going to be some of these guys putting in some of these slower times that are really going to be able to work their way coming to the front of the pack here?
Oh, that's true. And also, this is the silver qualifiers. So if truth comes to form, the gold qualifiers may put down, 1 second faster lap times, if not a little bit more, maybe.
Gonna see if we see a really hot qualifying time from the qualifying time over here. We're going to probably see some 154s by the end of it.
That would be fantastic. So far, Petrovic's still holding. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. Sutherland just took the fastest lap time of 155.147.
That's a quick lap time from him. I was gonna say I couldn't touch that if I tried.
Oh, and I've tried. I have tried. Absolutely, yeah. They're stacking up quite nicely, quite close.
And say they're definitely not keeping to that 3 to 5 second gap with some of these drivers here.
They are closing in on each other quite a bit, aren't they? I noticed that with 2 of them.
Say, see if that ends up working out for them, or if it's gonna be a detriment and have them to have to pull out on a lap.
Oh, I was gonna say Adams was up 2/10. It looks like he lost it. I don't know if he got caught behind somebody or something happened. Ruzic is up 2/10 on his fastest lap of a 155.5.
Got some quick times coming in here. I'm definitely gonna need to at the end of this go get some coaching sessions from some of these guys. They can definitely help me shave a couple of tenths off my time.
Man, between the coaching session and the data on tire wear and pit stop, this almost feels like cheating at this point.
Right? I say we really get the nice bird's eye view to see what and what not to do. So we're gonna have to hold ourselves to a little bit higher of a standard coming through this.
Man, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Got to highlight Selena Boonstra and her amazing looking livery coming into this, and of course the intro video that we watched coming into this really did a phenomenal job with it.
Absolutely.
Really pulls a lot of. I love the plaid reference of Spaceballs, just like we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Really ties a lot of it together.
Really does.
And there's our first 154. Actually, we have 2 154s. So D4 Silver's breaking into that 154 time frame.
Man.
It's gonna
breaking in early and breaking in hard.
Exactly. Gonna say that's gonna put a lot more pressure on our gold drivers that are gonna go in about a minute and a half here. Gonna be able to go out onto this track and see what they can throw down.
See if anybody can break the 154. Let's see who's Marvin's got a 155.6 and he is up a half.
Real quick. If you could move the Discord invite overlay just a bit so it's not obscuring the session info, and also if you could sort the drivers list, because right now it's by track position. It needs to be track position.
Mine needs to change.
Yeah, make your game HUD overlay sort by 1, 2, 3, 4 rather than the way it is now jumbled. Thanks. Later.
So we'll move all that in just a second here. Should be able to hop back into the action.
We still have. We're coming down to 20 seconds left. If they start a new lap in the next 20 seconds, they'll be able to finish it. But if they don't, the silver qualifiers will have to vacate the track. We are sitting at 2 154s, Ruzic and Sutherland. Marvin is sitting at a 155.052, and GTG is sitting at a 155.107. There's a few 155s knocking right on the edge. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to make it, though, into the 154s, as gold should be getting ready to roll out. Let's see if we catch any of the gold drivers coming around. Silver drivers are all checking back in. Let's catch our gold drivers heading out. Looking at Rodriguez there. Sarsoni. Gorgeous liveries.
Yeah, we have a lot of good looking liveries in D4 right now.
Really do.
So yeah, a definite one to keep our eye on coming up here is going to be GB3. He was a fast boy in D5 last season, and with that bright white livery, he's going to be easy to catch up on.
Yeah, he's going to be someone to keep an eye on and someone to, he's going to be a tough competitor, to say the least.
He is very fast and has that racecraft coming out. Got Jess coming around, our fearless commentating manager here. Gonna see if he can't set down sometimes. Looks like he's still a little cold on his tires, but that's what we have outlaps for.
It is indeed. Makes sense to take your time, get that spacing. It's a lot of room on this track to get your spacing correctly. Might as well use it to your advantage.
Absolutely, it would be a shame if you weren't going to. I mean, got such a wide track at points here coming around, and
right,
really
yeah,
make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is to be up a few tenths and end up coming up on somebody who might be going a little bit slower or might have invalidated or spun out, and then you end up catching them, and then it just ruined your lap too.
Absolutely. Say we should be coming around for our second lap here before too long, and seeing our silver drivers starting to hopefully pile all the way to the top. But I don't know, with some of those times that those silver drivers were putting up, the gold may have a competition here.
That's going to be interesting to see how it stacks up. I know in the practice races, a lot of times it's mixed between the silver and the gold on the after qualifying on which ones are stacked top and bottom. I'm curious to see how it stacks up here in D4.
Absolutely, you always have your couple of guys that are real quick that kind of shove their way into it, but it'll be an interesting race to say the least. I mean, we're just coming into the season. Everyone's pretty fresh off Hungaroring still. Oh,
that brings up another good point of the amount of time individual drivers had to practice. As some of the SRA veterans might know, they do clues to give out track reveals a little bit ahead of time, give yourself a little bit of advantage, more time to practice. So I wonder how many drivers got the clue earlier than others and how much extra time drivers were able to squeeze in for practice. And if that comes into play, although I also understand it comes down to how much time you actually have to practice.
Oh, absolutely. It's some people definitely put a lot more time into these things than I do. I've noticed that quite a bit. I don't race enough to be competitive up here.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same way. I do my best to have fun and hold my own, and then I mean, there's also some just absolute raw talent.
Lots of talent there is. A lot more than I have coming around the corners. We got some of our gold drivers placing. Looks like we have a 155-1 from our fastest gold, so we still have some silver drivers beating them out. I'm sure that'll change as the rest of this 5 minutes here ticks away, but it's always fun seeing the silver drivers getting represented like this.
Absolutely. What we have, a full 5 minutes of qualifying left, so there's still a lot of time on that board.
Yeah, speaking of time, looks like we just broke a 154.48 for Latuso right there. Setting an absolute heater of a lap, throwing him all the way at the top of the leaderboard right now, setting the precedent for everyone.
The time to beat. It's on the board.
The only question is he going to hold on, or is one of these other guys going to put down a real fast lap time on him? We also need to talk about how many Ferraris we're seeing on track right now.
Yeah, right. The 1.9 update, and apparently the Ferrari is the car to drive.
To say I am also one of the people that had to go with the latest and greatest, and man, that Ferrari drives smooth. But surprised
Doesn't it, though?
surprised we're not seeing some more. I mean, we've got some Lamborghinis in here, we got some Porsches, but Ferrari is really the car to be in this season.
Yeah, it's stable, it's fast, it feels good, like, you know, comfortable good, and I mean, come on, it's gorgeous. The liveries definitely help, but it is a gorgeous machine.
It looks nice. It sounds good. You got the ill-fated turbo noises that everyone was real excited about.
Absolutely,
With
yeah.
with the start of the 1.9, it really is a nice looking car. Got Dawson
Absolutely.
Tremeling throwing up a fast 154.7 too. We're trying to get some of these gold drivers to populate on the top of the leaderboards here. They're having a little bit of trouble after some of those hot lap times we saw before.
Yeah, it looks like Silver is still holding their own against the gold division split here. There's a
Gonna be interesting.
pretty good mix.
Maybe after this third race here coming up, we'll see some switching of plates here. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see.
Always a possibility.
So we have some pretty good laps down. We got a couple of peoples that are a little bit up, but I mean, for the most part, things are kind of evening out as far as everyone's lap times coming across here. We got some of the faster guys that are still gaining, but seems like this is a pretty stacked list.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of, just scrolling through the list or the times here, a lot of 155s. Like, everyone seems to be within a couple of tenths of each other.
That's gonna make for a fun race. Everyone the exact same. It's gonna come down to perfecting the corner coming through.
Right, yeah. Like, this is going to be based off the lap times we're seeing, this is going to be all about racecraft and your ability to hold it together in close quarters, and then also exploit those micro mistakes that the drivers around you make without being affected by their mistakes at the same time.
That's where the real racing starts there, especially around that last corner as we just saw GB3 come into. That was personally for me a good trouble corner of if you don't nail it, you're gonna lose a couple of tenths there, and I imagine we'll see some drivers making the same mistake tonight as we go on and get some tire wear going and keep going. We also need to talk about how short this pit window here is, or the entrance to our pit.
Oh,
here.
right, yeah. The pit entrance is, it's going to be, I imagine, I'm predicting it's going to be a significant point of frustration in the upcoming race, as you are coming screaming into it and then have to slam on the brakes and make an immediate, it's a right, correct? I believe it's a right.
Yeah, turn right, and then it's kind of a little bit of a chicane to go left back into the straight of the pits there.
Yeah, I'm not wishing a drive-through penalty on anybody, but I predict we'll see at least one or two of those in this race, just from the way the pit is structured.
Oh, 100%. Especially as people are trying to battle around that last corner too, because it's such a interesting. It's such a sharp corner that you really go wide and pull in for. It's going to be interesting to see people's strategies going into the pits, trying to hold times up and keep people off them as well.
Yep, I'm very interested to see how this all plays out. Very excited, very interested. This is gonna be a good race, I think.
Yeah, looking at the top times right now is something to be really, really jealous of. We got a 154.482 right as we end into the qualifying here. Looks like we'll probably have one or so more laps. We got a couple of drivers that are out. We got Levine that's still driving. Beverly managed to sneak it in, it seems. Taking that one more lap coming out of here. Hoping to gain that last couple of tenths that'll let him into the race.
Love to see it. Love to see it. So it looks like qualifying has officially ended. Got a couple people bringing the last lap home, and then
Yeah,
we
a couple
will.
of people as we end, but we'll get lined up for the race coming up here in just a second, and we'll get off with season 7 race 1 coming up here. It's gonna be interesting. Can't wait to see how these drivers do, and it's gonna be a ton of fun this season.
Absolutely, I'm excited. I think all the racers are excited after our unorthodoxly long break of 4 weeks, as opposed to the SRA standard 2 weeks, I believe is what they said it was.
Yeah, between 2 and 3 usually, I believe, is what they take off. I definitely enjoyed that little bit of a break coming into. I'm sure some people really sweated it out and kept racing, but a nice week or 2 break was definitely loved over here.
Absolutely, yeah. I took the time to attempt to enjoy other video games and other hobbies, and found that I was, 3 weeks into it. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready for season 7 to start. We can go ahead and get this started.
Exactly.
And here we are.
It's hard to get away from GT3 racing. It's just too much fun with all of us.
Absolutely.
Say, as always, SRA would not be possible without the amazing sponsors that help keep us going. That would be our great sponsors, Armentario Software. We have Documize, we have Retro Saga, we have Track Racer, and what is a sponsor for most of these drivers and me personally is Go Setups as well. Great sponsor. They make great setups, especially for someone like me who's a little lazy and doesn't like grinding out, making my own setups. It's nice to be able to throw something on there and keep going.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Actually, I've purchased a couple of Go setups myself for the different cars in my time here at SRA, and I mean, I've enjoyed using them. I enjoy the simplicity, just minor tweaks based on my driving style, but otherwise, it's definitely advantageous, at least in my situation.
We are officially lining up. We've got the last couple of minutes here. We got about 1 minute and 15 seconds before this race starts. Everyone's lining up. We got a pretty stacked top 5. We got Listoza, we have Smalley, Tremeling, of course GB3, and Ruzik all lined up for the top 5 coming out here. We'll have to keep an eye on them and see how they fare. Starting in the front is definitely nice for a track like this. Turn 1 is a bit of a tricky one. Turn 1 kind of going into 2 there is definitely a place for everyone to get jammed up. I know, especially for the practice race going on last night, we definitely had some issues with that, and it'll be interesting to see how D4 fares with it.
Yeah, that is going to be that those first 2 turns play into each other so much, and it's not a narrow corner, but having to swing wide into turn 1 to go wide into turn 2 into that short straight before immediately going into turn 3, it's gonna be a bottleneck. And then it's also gonna be there's gonna be some racecraft, obviously, and then there's also just gonna be some situational awareness where you can't cut the corner too much, but you also obviously ideally want to stay on your racing line because you want to get the most out of your lap and not let your opponent take over. So how they balance and fit all that in while also staying clean is gonna be it's gonna be interesting to watch. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm seeing in our chat right here, it looks like Rodrigo said Latoza started ACC last week. Definitely can't verify that, but if it is, I am very jealous. I have more than a week's worth of time in ACC, and I'm definitely not running D4 times.
Oh my gosh, right? I mean, maybe they're racing in real life or another game, another league of some sort. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah,
and on top of the 1.9 update, so the physics changed and everything. And wow, hats off to you, sir, ma'am.
Crazy start here. We're lining up, going out for our parade lap here. Some good-looking cars. I'm sure we're gonna get some wiggling action going down some of these, trying to warm our tires up after. Always notice it sitting on the track there for about 30 or so seconds. It really takes a lot out of your tires, and then parading around in a pretty slow. We were doing about 60 miles an hour last night leading into on that long straight, and your tires just cool off quick. So
Absolutely, yeah.
always going to be interesting to see how that plays into our lap one here, especially with that first turn one and turn two is such a technical and very reliant on grip.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If I can say, I think my favorite part of the hot lap here, the out lap, is the ability to just see all the liveries. Like you can see them sitting still, and you can see them when they're doing their actual hot laps, their quality times. But to be able to see them like this, you get really good shots. They're not going very fast, and they're all close, so you can kind of see the contrasting colors and stuff. It makes the racetrack look like a painting with all the different colors and stuff just flowing down it. It's really cool. It's really pretty.
Oh, absolutely. Makes it a really, really cool season too. Definitely with a lot of GT3 racing, you'll see a lot of really, really out there liveries. But it's so much fun being able to do it here, where there's really no limit to what you can do.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's
There's no.
definitely would say I wouldn't be a very good GT3 racer with the amount of cars that I've totaled in this game.
Be dropped by sponsors left and right, and here you get to make your own.
Exactly. I think that's one thing the ACC should have sitting in somewhere for stats would be an amount of money that you've caused each of your respective car companies.
That would be an interesting stat. I'm not sure if I'd actually want to see that number, but at the same time, I'm curious.
Say it looks like we're doubling up. We're about to get out on our first race for season 7.
I just spotted Lloyd's livery. He's got a Halo. Is that the OG Halo livery with Master Chief on the side? Oh, yep, it is 117. Yep. Man, that's cool.
What a nice livery.
Right? Regular artist going around this place.
We are coming around our last corner, lining up. We are about to be off for our first race for season 7. Gonna go ahead and slow down there, getting the speed window, and we're about to cross our starting line here. And just like that, we have 1 hour to the finish. We'll see how this goes.
And they're off. All right, here
Keep an
comes
eye
that
on the front of the
precarious
pack
hope.
here. Looks
Turn
like
one.
we already have some cones flying.
Oh, they're bottlenecking as expected, but otherwise it looks like we're staying clean, which is nice out of turn 1 there. A couple of people going wide, but I guess that's to be expected, to try to keep whatever line you can.
Absolutely. It is looking like a pretty clean lap 1 from everyone. Got a couple of people dropping forward, dropping back as we get through. Oh, there's our incident. Looks like we have a couple of people getting spun out there. That's a particularly hard corner. It's a little bit of tough to kind of manage the throttle there. I've noticed a couple of slick spots. We have some people sliding off the side, going into
the main straight. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
It looks like we had a pile up around, and we're just kind of bumping back and forth with a couple of our guys right here.
Yeah.
And ultimately
cold tires into a broad sweeping corner. Oh,
yeah,
that contact. Oh,
looks like that car up there made it out just fine, but
yeah, that one took all of the damage.
Looks like Listoza still up front and managing to hold his lead as we come through the end of lap 1 here. say a bit of a rough start, but with it being our first race, it is nothing that is not to be expected.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of those things you just kind of hope for the best and plan for the worst. And sometimes that comes down to dodging an incident. Sometimes that comes down to picking yourself up after losing it at an incident.
Oh, absolutely.
Be that as it may.
Looks like everyone fared somewhat. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of couple of pits that need to happen here coming up before too long, seeing some of the contact that just happened right there. We have our pit window that just opened up. Looks like it's a 55-minute long pit window, which is definitely an interesting strategy that I really like seeing last season of drivers pitting, trying to get in there early. I was definitely one of those drivers that I like getting into it a little bit earlier than the rest, just so I could drive. But it seems like with this season, and especially with this track, it may be nice to push it and take some tires more towards the end.
It's gonna be interesting how the strategy plays out, because tires is definitely a strategy towards the end, especially. You just have to take into account that it definitely adds 30 seconds to your pit stop, and it's a question of whether or not you're going to make those 30 seconds up in the number of laps you have left in the race. And I mean, honestly, we race tomorrow, and I'm on the fence whether I'm going to get tires or not. So I'm really curious to see what B4 does, because they're pushing their cars a lot harder.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be interesting. I definitely think that we could have a really wide variety of strategies coming into this. I mean, it all comes down to, are you able to make up that 30 seconds at the end of the pit? Is tires that worth it to you, or is it something that you're just kind of telling yourself?
Looks like there was another incident of some sort. Both drivers are back on the track. Where are we? Turn 14, I think.
Oh, I'm seeing a little action coming up. Like White Scarver may have been
involved in an incident. There's a line of cars going into the pits right now.
I'm gonna say we had a little bit of a pile up on this last corner here. We had a driver, looks like an unsafe rejoin coming back in, just tapped Selena Boonstra coming around, and it looks like we got a little piled up on that final corner. Had a driver lose it, had a couple others going around it, but looks like they fared all right coming through.
That's good.
Latoza still holding his lead. Looks like he set a time of a 1:55.7 on full fuel, I assume. So that is definitely a time to beat right there. He is about half a second ahead.
He is showing that he is definitely not going to go easy on his car. He is pushing it. He's going to push it this whole race.
Be interesting to see as we get a little later into this race here how that's going to end up turning out for him, if he's going to be able to deal with the tire wear that comes along with it.
Yes, sir.
We got Tomato in here pushing this guy as hard as he can. I know he was practicing. Oh, we got some contact right there.
Another one. That
Looks
corner
like
does have...
and Scusa there spun and tapped. I've noticed a little bit of a slick spot coming through there. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but definitely seems like it's a problem corner.
It's slick, and then it's also really dangerous because once you get on your line, you can't accelerate or brake past a certain amount, which is a very limited amount. And if you do, then you are absolutely guaranteed a spin, which can kind of, if you commit to a line that ends up occupying someone else's space, it's gonna be a bad time.
Not an easy way to come around, but it looks like they're both back on the track and racing again.
I mean, that's hopefully they didn't get too much damage. They can keep from having this extended pit.
Yeah, it looks like GTG there has some definite front end damage that he may have to deal with, but it seems like he's pulling through just fine. definitely sending it pretty fast through the track right now.
Oh, there you go. Maybe he'll try to combine that with his pit stop and see if he has any more damage that actually he can combine with his pit stop as well in the future.
Yeah,
The race is
Scusa
still early.
ended up having to pit. It looks like he decided to take his pit. Looks like we have Tomato in the pits repairing some damage. Have to ask him later what happened there. But it looks like we're getting faster and faster at the front of the pack here. As much as we were talking about the Ferraris, we have a Porsche winning out right now.
Porsche is no slouch, that's for sure. It's not my favorite car to drive. I've hot lapped in it a few times, but it definitely holds its own when it's being handled by someone who knows what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Looks like we have some closer racing coming up here. We have Sarcone pulling up on GB3 right now, it looks like. Getting up really close. Actually, sorry, that's Dawson Tremling. Which I believe Tremling and GB3 are both teammates holding out the 3rd and 4th position, so definitely going to get a good head start on that team series section.
Oh, that's going to be a good battle then. That's outstanding.
Gonna have to see how that progresses as it goes along, but they seem to stick with the Aston this season, which a bit surprising. It seems like most everyone kind of traded up from that. It was a great car to drive last season, but it definitely seems like Ferrari's the car to be in this season. So it'll be interesting to see how they go along this season driving the Aston. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. That, as you said, it is an interesting choice. Not that it's a bad choice, of course, but
oh, absolutely not.
Given the popularity, the Aston was the car I drove last season, and it treated me well. It's definitely a very safe and comfortable car to drive, and maybe that's the reason they chose it.
To say, stick with what you know, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's working for you, don't. What is it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Damn.
Exactly.
Full send.
Looks like most of our drivers are back on here. We got GTG, sorry, that just finished up a pit and pulling back out on track again. Seemed like it would seem pretty fast for him, so.
Didn't heal any damage then? Or
Walkowitz, still with a lot of damage, actually. It looks like he got spun out hard and seems to still be pushing through all this, so hats off to him. I know how tough it can be sometimes to keep trying.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't want to go into the pits and waste time fixing damage, but also you might be sacrificing your lap time by not fixing damage. It's kind of a weighing the pros versus the cons.
Oh, absolutely. Looks like we may have to keep an eye out on this, but it looks like Sarcone passed Tremling up here at the front, splitting Beverly and Tremling there. So we'll see if he continues to pull forward. Lastoza is definitely sticking at the front of the pack. He's built himself a nice little gap sitting up here and seems to be just pushing on.
That's good to see. Nice battle happening up there. I was checking in on Tomato of BDA back towards the end. He's currently in 35th place. I don't know if he has some damage with his vehicle or not, but he's he was a D6 alumni, and he seems to be having a little bit of trouble handling his car around some of these corners. Interesting to see from somebody who's usually held a pretty tight race.
Absolutely, it's definitely tough sometimes. I mean, especially going into these races, you got a lot of nerves coming on through some of these things, and a lot of pressure to try to perform your best, because this is it. This is the race that you've been practicing for the last week. So you can definitely get thrown out of your groove and start working your way back. But historically, he's shown himself to be a real fast driver that is has the consistency down, but also can put down a heater of a lap.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. And one thing I think we forgot to mention was he's actually newly promoted to D4. This is his first race with the D4. He was D6 last season, so it's a completely different ball game, so to speak. But yeah, as you said, he's very well known to post consistent and incredibly quick lap times. So it's still a lot of race to go. So maybe maybe he's just having a little bit of trouble. He's gonna time his pit entry, or maybe he's still getting himself situated.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a tough thing to balance between handling ability with your car and how things feel over that time that you'll have to sit in the pits, especially as we get to some of these higher divisions sitting here, where these seconds mean a whole lot more than some of the lower end D7, D6, D7, D8 down there, where sometimes you can sacrifice and make that time back up. It just like we were seeing in the qualifying session here with all these being, you know, the pace disparity being within a second and a half of each other coming through. It's tough to take some of those pits.
Yep, you're absolutely right with the seconds counting for more. You can generally expect more errors and maybe slightly larger errors from the lower divisions, as it's usually less experienced racers. Whereas you get into the higher divisions and there's usually fewer errors, and they're definitely a lot smaller. You might lose a tenth or so as opposed to 2 or 3 tenths. And then you can actually, like you said, make up time. But
absolutely, it definitely seems like Listoza still at the front here. Definitely unloaded some sandbags before the start of this race. Really just pulling away from everyone.
You found it, huh? Found the gas pedal. There it is. Oh, we have another spin on one of the long sweeping left turn. Gosh, who was it that spun there? There we go. Oh, it looks like they're getting back on the track, though. Looks like, was that Petrovix and J Air, maybe? Didn't see who the second car was. It might have been Toby.
We can run back real here. I think Petrovix has been having a little bit of issues this race. It definitely. Oh, yep, he got tapped and spun right out there. Definitely seems like the AMG is a bit of a tough car to drive this season.
Wonder how. I haven't hot lapped in that one. I'm not sure if you have, but I wonder how it was affected by the 1.9 update.
I drove it a little bit last season for some of the weekend sprints that we had.
Sure. Yeah.
But it seems it's a very quick car in the top end, but obviously it's a bit of a handful to handle through some of these. Checking in with Curtis Adams right in here. He's number 12 right now. I think if I remember right, he's moved up from his original standing. So looks like some of these drivers are starting to kind of nuzzle their way up. Definitely have a bunch of gold drivers up top here, and then definitely we're still seeing our silver league showing up at the top 10 here.
I guess Sutherland is silver driver Holden's down 6th place.
Yeah, absolutely. He has obviously kept his pace going up, and is definitely showing up for the D4 silver group coming up here. It looks like Smalley here gained a couple of positions coming in, though. He is now ahead of GB3. I believe they kind of dropped back and forth a little bit here. Sarcone is definitely still trying to race his way up to GB3 there. He is catching up, but it is definitely one of those slow and very meticulous back and forth races, as both drivers do not make mistakes very often.
That's interesting how they, well, I shouldn't say interesting. That's really, to me, it's fascinating to see how different people react in different situations in those super close quarters parts. Some people really hold their cool, like, very, very well. And you can tell by the way they control their car, like they're unwavering. There's no dodging, there's no second guessing how close they are to the car next to them. They're getting, within a few inches of each other, and they just straight as an arrow, keep in the racing line and just run right by.
Absolutely, it definitely gets down into those very fine racecrafts towards the end of you really got to hold your own. It looks like Curtis is trying to take a pass on this back straight here as he comes around to the sweeping corner. See if he'll be able to make it. Looks like they're trading back and forth. Looks like he pulls his position out and manages to get in front of this. Looks like he was racing up against, who was that? Was it Martin Diggs? Nope.
And coming out of the long straight into that right-hand sweeper, there's a looks like a 3-4-way battle. Jess, Picard, and KB Smith and Trembling are all just right on top of each other. It's
These are where the biggest jumps in positions can happen, especially you have 2 or 3 drivers battling and you can catch up to the back of them, and sometimes you can pull off some real nice passes up past all of them. But it looks like Jess is pulling ahead just a little bit here. Ricard's definitely in the midst of being battled. He's got 2 drivers right on his tail trying to take his position.
Coming out of that long straight, it seems like it was a battle from the long straight all the way to the. Oh, we had another spin out to that first sweeping right and then the sweeping left. It's like Ruzik
that spun out there. Oh, and he taps another driver coming out.
Oh no!
He's blocking that turn 2 right there.
No, he's having a hard time getting his car going again.
Looks like he just barely managed to join safely again. Definitely know that feeling, trying to come back on and your tires just spin out from under you sometimes when you're off the track there.
Yeah, it looked like he caught some sand, which will absolutely make traction an issue there. Just amplifying a bad problem with already frustration levels going through the roof.
Let's say, talk about a nice looking livery. We have a White Scarver that is position 29 right now and has been putting down pretty good laps so far, but man, you talk about a nice looking livery that is real put together. It definitely sits on this Porsche.
That is a gorgeous livery.
But we can check back in on the front, and no surprise that Listoza is still pulling away from the rest of the pack. He seems to just be hot lapping himself into oblivion right now.
I was just looking at that too, and was like, man, he really is just holding his own up there. Like 9-second gap.
Yeah,
that's
it just
absolutely incredible.
Just turned over into 10 seconds here. He's
really
right, building his own gap up here. Looks like Smalley's starting to do the same too. He's splitting the gap a little bit between Listoza and GB3 here, trying to get some of his up, but it looks like Sercone is really starting to get on GB3's tail, and maybe over the next 10-15 minutes or here we'll see a good battle start to form, and maybe some passing happening.
That would be GB3 with his racecraft and experience. This should be a really interesting battle.
Looks like Trembling may have lost a couple of positions here. He was running pretty in 4th and has dropped back to 14th, so I wonder if he spun out at some point here.
It looks like Tomato, we were talking about him earlier, like he was having a little bit of a rough race, may have dropped from the race.
Oh no.
Which is unfortunate to see. I wonder if he was having technical issues maybe.
But he could have. He seemed to be holding on to it a little bit though, but
right, yeah.
Would explain sliding around a little bit. I know some wheels have a bit of a reputation of maybe losing some force feedback every once in a while, and you do something like that, it's hard to be competitive and keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, completely aside from the technical issues, it just builds frustration, like we were saying, and then it just makes it an unfair race. So, but yeah, we'll have to touch bases with him in the next race, I'm sure, either way.
Absolutely. We can check back into this Picard battle. It looks like he's caught up to Jess, and he's definitely trying to close the gap on him a little bit. Looks like
Curious
Picard
to see how that
pulled away
plays out
from Daniels here, and it's it's him and Jess going into it. Looks like they're trading some of these corners. It looks like Ricard had the faster exit. He may have something nice here.
Oh, Zach. Oh, that's going back into turn
right
one there.
on
Yeah.
this bumper, yeah.
Oh, this is going to be turn one into turn two. It's ideal line or bust. Jess is not letting him have it.
Right on his tail.
He is, but
There.
he is not letting him have it. He says, no way. That is fantastic racing. Ricard's going to have to try to get a really good exit going onto that main straight and try to catch him. Oh, a little too much sliding there.
Say it is definitely a very fine line to hold on to, especially when you're battling back and forth with another driver like this, with all the nerves going on, keeping consistency and trying not to push your corners too much. But it looks like Ricard lost a little time, and Jess is pulling forward on him at this point.
Yeah, and in the Porsche too, which is, you know, definitely slower on that straight than the Ferrari is. So this will give Ricard a chance to catch up, you know, close a little bit of the gap, I should say, not necessarily catch up. And then let's see how he goes into the exit here.
Seems like they're pulling around pretty evenly. It looks like they both had a pretty good entrance into it. Just maybe pulling forward just a little bit as that Porsche navigates the corners just that little bit more. But
Oh, is he going to get on the exit of that corner? He held it. Ricard's line going into the turn 13 there was a little bit narrower than I would have expected, but he held his own all the same, so
yeah,
he knows something.
Like some of these battles here has let the other drivers catch up, so we may have that four-way battle back again. You were talking a few minutes ago going into Sector 3 here.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Looks like we had one go a little wide out on that last corner, but we have a close pack of very quick drivers coming into turn 1 here. Just
like we got to
pull ahead.
We got a four-way battle. Are they battling? Let's see here. We got Marvin. Cody's a little bit behind. Rodriguez and Air. Yeah, we got a three-way battle here coming down the main straight between Air, Rodriguez, and Marvin. And it looks like
oh wow,
Rodriguez,
this is some close racing coming in here.
Yeah, looks like Rodriguez was able to pull it off. Did Marvin let him by? Was he? It's not a lap down. Am I reading the wrong name? Well, either way. They are where they are now.
See, it looks like Rodriguez is pulling a little bit of a gap heading towards Petrovic's here. Also in the AMG seems to be doing just fine here. Always going to be fun to watch the battles on this section of the straight here. It's all about milking every little kilometer you can from the corner before it to line you up and get you as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Or you exploit the cheat code that is the Ferrari's very nice top speed.
Exactly. And can really gain some time that you might lose throughout some of the corners on this. It is definitely a car fit for the track.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I think Kunos did an excellent job releasing it.
100%. It's a lot of fun to drive, and it drives like a dream.
Yeah, it does. So looking at the bottom of the leaderboard here, Santos and Lloyd look like they were pretty close. Yeah.
So
There's a
they're
few
both
cars.
coming into turn 1 here.
Yeah, they're coming down the main straight again. I was
Looks
curious.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it looks like we're starting to get some overlap here. Maybe this will trim down on Listoza's time here as he has to start trying to battle some of our other guys coming through.
The blue flags. Okay, yeah. And he has not pitted yet. Is correct? He has not. No.
So. Nope.
So the top 19 drivers have not pitted. Cody and Cryer have pitted, and they're 22nd and 24th, respectively. So I'm curious. Well, let's see, because Lutosa, the leaderboard essentially, it's a good 12 seconds up, and then they're a few seconds behind. So yeah, they should still be holding a fairly decent lead based on the spread, even after they pit, unless something catastrophic happens.
Yeah, it looks like Rodriguez, Marvin, and Jess, all three may pull out a couple of positions here as some of our other drivers start to pit. We're definitely feel like we'll start having an influx as we tick down onto the rest of the 30 minutes of the race.
Oh, we are approaching the halfway mark. Wow. So tire wear is definitely coming into a play at this point. Factoring in your pit strategy at this point, I know it's probably not ideal to give up a position if you're battling right now, but if you're hot lapping on your own and you got a good lead, I feel like now is a pretty good time, unless you were planning on... No, if you're going to do tires, I would do it soon. Thoughts?
I definitely think as we approach into the half-hour mark, just like we were seeing last night on our practice race, it starts getting awful slick around this time.
Yeah.
And can definitely be an issue. Looks like Boonstra just pitted, and she's going to go ahead and be in there. Looks like she has a little damage that she may be fixing as it goes through.
So coming down the main straight now, in positions 5 and 6, Sutherland and Levine look like they're battling. That Ferrari's pulling on that Porsche. Levine and the Ferrari is pulling on that Sutherland in the Porsche. I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to pull it off. I should say hold it.
Just
coming out of the next corner.
ahead. See if
there
he can
it
hold
is.
it through the corner.
Moment of truth. Brings it back
What a
in time.
move.
Doesn't invalidate. This is the corner, though. This is the make or break it. Okay, he's pretty wide.
Seems like
yeah.
He had a real nice entrance into it. I think he managed to pull his move off. It's definitely not over yet, as that Porsche can catch up to him on some of these corners that seem like it was built for it. But that straight line speed of the 296 is definitely something not to scoff at.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It definitely earned him a position down that back straight.
Let's see. Yeah. It's those kind of things that you kind of focus on. It's like, well, was it only because of the straight, or is he going to be able to hold it through these technical section in section 1 here? And on that same note, Holmes and Adams, positions 11 and 12, coming down the front straight. They're both in Ferraris, and it looks like they're duking it out pretty well too. I'm curious to see if racecraft or tire wear is going to come into play here, or just simple mistake.
Going to be interesting to see how some of these drivers duke it out coming around a lot of these corners. And that was the half-hour announcement, so we're halfway done with this race already. Looks like we may have missed a spin out earlier looking at YouTube here. Apologize for that. That must have completely slipped by, but they're saying Johnny Air here ended up spinning out, and looks like a spin after a straight that he may have pulled off there. But sitting nice in position 31 right now. It looks like he's not going to do too bad. He's done his pit already, so from here on out, it's just going to be working up as many positions as he can coming into the last half of this race.
Yeah, at this point, you got to, if you're sitting in the bottom, I don't want to say third of the leaderboard, you got to just be thinking, hold it together. You know, hope for no more incidents, accidents, or crashes, and then try to count on other people's mistakes and exploit those to the best of your ability while putting down the best lap times you can.
100%. It looks like Picard may have pulled ahead, and him and Curtis are in the 13th and 12th position there. They may be duking it out. Looks like Curtis is coming up on Holmes here in position 11, and they may be having a battle here before too long.
Ricard and Adams are both part of OBDA. They're on the same team, actually.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting some good representation up a little higher on it, but it looks like Picard may have, it looks like Jess may have taken his pit In fact, he did. So Ricard still needs to pit. That's where he made up a couple of those
Oh,
positions
okay.
for.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where they end up after they pit over here. So say once again checking in with our first place. Absolutely no surprise at all is still Listoza. He is held on to a very, very tough read coming into here. Looks like he's got a 13.7 second gap to position 2 there, so he is definitely sitting pretty right now, and we'll see if he can keep it up going into the last 27 minutes of the race here.
So going to the other side of the leaderboard, positions 29th and 30th, Wolkowitz and Harold are battling out in Ferraris as well. Wolkowitz is the silver driver and Harold is the gold driver. And they've been trailing each other, giving and taking a couple of tenths over the last 4 corners. I can't help
Looks
but
like
feel...
Wolkowitz has some pretty nasty damage on him too, so he seems to be holding off Harold a little bit better, but it looks like he has some front and rear damage on his car right now.
Kudos to him for running such good defense while operating with damage and stuff. I know how detrimental that can be, especially on the long straight here at Paul Ricard. That top speed is absolutely necessary if you're going to post competitive lap times.
100%. It's
aero
it's hard
damage will really mess that up.
Hard to lose any sort of time coming on that straight. It will take it. Looks like Rechton here is pulling up very fast on Ben. Who is this driver right here?
What are we looking at here?
We just had a pass going on there. It looks like a pretty fierce competition actually going on through that sweeping right corner. They're both kind of neck and neck. It's a tough race as people start pitting. Looking and starting getting blue flags here. It definitely starts trading some of these positions pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure. Thankfully, SRA has a well-established blue flag rule where you are required to yield to anyone trying to pass you. However, even with that, it can still clutter up your racecraft, your racing line, as you're coming out of certain corners and on certain spots, because sometimes there's just not enough room to pass, and sometimes in passing you can actually find yourself getting in the way.
Absolutely, it's definitely a tough balance with some of these races, especially through a lot of the tracks here that a little bit more windy. But luckily with Paul Ricard here, we have a nice long straight to be able to yield any of those that we need to.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Yeah, the long straight just let off a little bit, and anybody who needs to get by you has all the room in the world to make it well before the next turn.
It looks like Harold finally made it past Wolkowitz there after what was a tough battle going on between them, but I have a feeling that that front end damage really played into his top speed going back there.
Yeah, I've
Seems like
no
he's
doubt
getting
that you're
walked on
absolutely
just
right.
a little bit there, but see if he can't hold it up.
GB3 is now in 4th place, losing 3rd to Roni.
Yeah, that was definitely a long fought out battle going on there for a while. It seems like he was catching up for a little while, and was definitely a good 10 lap battle going on between them there that he must have pulled through with it.
And it's interesting looking at their stats too. GB3 is showing slightly faster, about a 10th faster in Sector 1, and about a 10th faster in Sector 2, but he's behind by about 2 tenths in Sector 3. So I'm curious or not curious, but it's interesting to see how that plays out on like actual racetrack. If he can find a time to pass, or if he waits for a mistake, maybe he can exploit it, stick his nose in there and try
Absolutely.
to throw him off his racing line.
Just like we were talking about earlier, Sector 3 is such a technical sector that making
Absolutely.
mistakes and losing something on it can cost you a lot of time. And I have a feeling that's where some of these drivers can make up a lot is Sector 3.
I think you're absolutely right. And to play off of that, I think the hardest thing about Sector 3 is if the car that you're trying to pass takes in a less than ideal line, if you can't get into the ideal position to pass before they retake their line, it can really throw off your next corner because they will have intercepted, or you will intercept them, and that'll cause an incident, which means you have to throw yourself off your line or brake too early to compensate for it, which means the person behind you now has the ability to catch up to you, and that's where we get those really awesome, from our perspective, 3- and 4-way battles instead of just 2-people battles.
Exactly. As people stack up, it's going to slow down the front of the crowd because you don't want to let those times by. But looks like we have a pretty flat race. It's going to be interesting as some of these leaders up here start taking their pits to see where that jogs everyone around. It looks like Rodriguez and Marvin, as well as a couple of these other drivers, may make up a few positions as some of these guys finally decide to pit going into the back end of the race.
Looking at these stats again, GTG has made up 17 places so far this race. Eastcott has made up 22. Am I reading that correctly? It can't be correct. There's no way.
GTG definitely had the bit of the rough start back there and ended up having to take a pit. So it seems like he's finding his groove going into the back end of the race here. Looks like he's got a fresh, nice, new-looking Ferrari running around on the track here.
Which is funny considering we were just talking about how much money we would have spent if we'd actually had to pay for the number of vehicles we wrecked.
Yeah, exactly.
Sponsors came in clutch for him.
There's a big reason that I'm not a real GT3 driver, and I think it comes down to the insurance policy would have to be a little bit too much.
Oh my word!
But as
and then they expect you to win.
As we start running later into the race, we're watching our top times drop a little. Listoza was running a 1:56.8 there for a while, and has managed to drop about half a second off through the race. So he's 20 laps in, going strong still. It has a 15-second lap, so he's still managing to pull on some of these other drivers behind him, even though he's starting to have to pass more and more.
That's really consistent. What are we, 40 minutes into a 1-hour race, and he's only dropped about a half second, 3/4 of a second? That's pretty good. So he's
made some good progress throughout the race. It definitely seems like D3 maybe is home. Like I said at the start of more towards the start of the race, it seems like he unloaded a couple of these sandbags coming through here.
Man, that's good on him. Maybe we will see him promoted to D3, like you said. Then that'd be pretty cool. Get him some real competition.
I was gonna say, we'll give Smalley and Sarcone a little bit of a competition here. It looks like GB3 is closing the gap on Sarcone a little bit. They've definitely been going back and forth most of this race to keep going, but it's a big back and forth between those two drivers. They seem to be very, very evenly paced. It looks like GB3 has about a half a second on his fastest lap up over, but it's definitely a close race, and they seem to be driving very close to each other as GB3 closes that gap a little bit and slides out on corner 2, losing a little bit of that time.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Hold it. I have to imagine at this point some of these drivers are definitely turning up their traction control to compensate for the wear on their tires. Since, as far as we can tell, nobody has taken tires.
Say we may have seen some of these drivers take tires, but we're definitely closing down into the point. It seems like our front of pack won't end up taking tires. Definitely an interesting strategy going through. I'd like to know how the car feels to him right now. It's got to be sliding a bit for him at this point.
Yeah, I would agree, but he seems to be holding a pretty steady line. I don't see a whole lot of swerving or slipping around any of these corners here. But then again, that might just be a testament to his ability to handle the car too. Porsche is not an easy car to handle, but I mean, some people just have that ability.
Exactly. It seems one of those high risk, high reward cars that if you get it, you get it, but if not, it's like Martin Biggs just got a blue flag yielded into him going into that sweeping right corner. This corner is a big fun one to watch. It's a bit of a balancing act between trying to carry as much speed as you can, but not send it out into oblivion out there. Luckily, it's a nice big runoff if you happen to miss it, but these drivers seem to be handling it really well.
Yeah, they really do. And that corner specifically, the track limits are so, I don't know, obscene in reference to the white line police's general, strictness, where you can go all the way out to those markers and then sweep it back in, and it still counts as a valid lap. It's kind of nice to be able to play with that, just see how far you can send it sideways with understeer and see if you can keep it to come back in.
Oh, 100%. Seems like GTG is still gaining up positions as we go. He is now 25th. He's kind of been working his way up kind of steadily. He seems to be our turtle in this hair race here. GB3 and Sarah Cohen are still close together.
I was just looking at that. I was like, man, they are really fighting it out. I love to see it.
Let's say we may see some interesting battle coming into close to the last 15 minutes here, especially as I'm sure GB3 is feeling right now. It's just outside of his grasp to be able to pull into it.
It looks like Ricard and Adams, the teammates in OBDA, are staying within a couple seconds of each other, and Adams is trying to close in on Holmes. Second and a half behind him or so. But he's definitely holding his own there. Seems to be doing a little bit of yo-yoing.
Yeah, it looks like we have a blue flag that Adams just got yielded to him as he comes down. That should help him catch up to Holmes here. He's definitely seems to be closing the gap a little bit as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like we definitely have a little bit of a gap forming along this straight here. It's pretty consistent all the way around, but right in front of Cryer here, it's looks like a nice open field. A good opportunity for him to really put down the hot laps and keep going.
Yeah, absolutely no stress. Nobody to worry about coming up behind you or in front of you. No obstructions, no blue flags or yellow flags. Just kind of, you with your car, posting the best lap you can get. Gotta love at least a few minutes of that kind of peace on the racetrack.
Exactly. That is the definite times to start really driving, trying to take up as much as you can.
Absolutely. That's where the antics change from racecraft and conservatism / defense to, hey, I'm literally laying down a qualifier. Let's see what we can do. And you try to push just a little bit. Take the little bit more dangerous line in and out of a corner.
Absolutely. You didn't happen to catch how many drivers started out today, did you?
40, if I remember correctly. Because I remember
Yes.
Tomato left and we had 39, and then someone else dropped off because we're down to 38 now.
I was gonna say it looks like we had 2 DNFs coming through this race, which isn't too bad, especially for that first race. Almost would have expected a few more, especially like we were talking earlier, coming off that 4-week break. You definitely get a little rusty throughout it, but obviously these D4 guys are really putting down their times.
I would say, as you said, you get rusty, and then you also have to factor in, I think we touched on it, was mechanical errors, technical errors, computer errors, and stuff like that. And then, as has been said several times in online racing forums, we all have, real lives as well. We're not actually in these cars, so, things come up, and you have to deal with them as they come up, and maybe something happened in their personal lives as well.
100%. There's a lot that can come into play with something like this. You always hate to see it. I mean, we work so hard. I mean, a week to learn a new track for a lot of us is not a
Absolutely.
lot of time, and then not being able to finish the race. I had at least one of those DNFs last season, so I can definitely tell how it feels.
For sure, yes.
It is definitely interesting to see. It looks like our best Sector 2 is held in 21st place by Kata Vikar. Don't quote
That's
me on that
interesting.
enunciation, but it seems like 21 positions back managed to pull out a really good Sector 2 time.
Good for them. That's interesting. But good deal. I'm looking at GTG and Botella coming down the main straight, 2 Ferraris, so no one's getting the actual advantage going into the long sweeper to the right. They've been yo-yoing a couple half seconds between them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. GTG has seemed to be really making up some time. It seems like he has the consistency, and seems like he may be getting a few more positions coming up. It seems like we've got a little bit of a battle going ahead of him. We may turn this into a 5 or 6 car train going through this section here.
See, that would be an interesting battle. 5 or 6 cars going into the technical section of Section 3. Okay, now we're coming around the main straight, so it should open up a little bit.
Say that turn 1 and 2 is definitely a good telling sign too. I know following that close behind a driver and trying to anticipate when they're going to squeeze their brakes can be real tough sometimes
Absolutely.
to do that. They may end up backing off a little bit, but it seems like he holds pretty close to his line. GTG definitely has the consistency down and has been holding, or even better, moving up on his time this whole time.
That is excellent consistency. 49 minutes into a race here, that's pretty good, especially with the worn tires. And at this point everyone's got to be kind of thinking like, could really go for a water break, maybe a bathroom break, maybe my hands hurt. Relax your shoulders a little bit, deep breaths.
Absolutely. As we're coming into the last 10 minutes of the race, it's definitely the last kind of final push. I mean, as you're watching it, it looks like we have a couple of drivers, especially in the front here, that is still yet to take their pits, are really going to push it close to the end. We had several drivers do it, but it looks like Latoza, Smalley, Levine, Sutherland, and Elspab, all top 5 have not taken pits yet. So we'll have to see where that kind of ends up as they do it, because GB3 took his pit and is back in. Looks like he's losing several positions.
White Scarver looks like he was over on the edge of the track. I don't know what happened, but it definitely was facing the wrong direction. Oh, Cryer is also facing the wrong direction, looking for a spot to re-enter. Uh-oh. We have
go back and see what happened with him.
Now spinning out. I think those...
Seems like his...
Go ahead. Sorry.
It seems like as we get into the last 10 minutes of the race here, it's definitely turning into the tough of spinning out. Looks like he went wide into out there and just started spinning on the outside of the track.
Yeah, crazy this far into the race. How many positions you can make up if you're just consistent. Scusa is facing the wrong way. Coming out of the... There we go. Oh, nope. Spun out trying to get back. Spun again. His tires must really be playing games with him at this point.
It's always the most aggravating feeling, especially going into the last couple of minutes of the race here, to start spinning like that. It's you're trying to push as hard as you can, and some of those things really can drop you back. Looks like Smalley took his pit and is in 2nd place right now still, so we'll see how he holds up coming into the end here. As we get the last couple of drivers, they better start pitting quick, otherwise they're going to get hit with that dreaded penalty.
You don't want that.
Looks like we have one more driver, a drop off here.
Yeah, we're down to 37.
So, yeah, a total of 3. You hate to see it for a race like this, especially it seemed like they made it pretty far.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I don't. I don't know. I'm not going to wonder. I guess. I just, like you said earlier, you hate to see people throw, or not. Hate to see people not be able to finish the race that they prepared for. You know how many people throw tens of hours into these races, sometimes more, and then to not finish it's just gotta be incredibly frustrating.
Absolutely, it's a tough thing to come to terms with. It looks like Toadie's going out of the pits here, going to rejoin and clear his pit off there. We still have Ruzix, Sutherland, Levine, and Listoza that all need to pit still. But it seems like they're the last couple of drivers really pushing it as far as they can to the end to try to really make up as much time as they can before they have to go into those pits.
37. It looks like BB3 is currently trying to pass. Oh, there he goes. He got past the blue flag. Lloyd going down the.
Sure, he's really trying to push it in this last section to make up what little. He lost a couple of positions going in for his pit now, and it's all going to be about his consistency going into the back end of it here.
Oh, there he goes. The 2 people right in front of him just went into pits, Ruzick and Sutherland. So now he's back up to 5th. He's got to catch Cerrone to be able to get himself on the... Or, I'm sorry, Cerrone and Smalley to be able to get himself on the podium.
Both drivers that have pit already, but it seems like if Levine and Listoza drop back, we may be seeing some change on the last second here.
Looking in the chat, Sutherland saying it takes about 35 seconds to get in and out of the pits. So, with that said, 6 minutes left in the race. I'm not sure if he's going to... Oh, Levine's only... Wow. There's a massive gap. I did not realize how large that gap was.
I was just looking at that too.
Wow.
Nearly a 40-second gap between Listoza and second place there.
And then between Levine and 3rd place, another 20 seconds. So the first 3 drivers are very, very much close to a minute ahead of the next. I should say Listoza is a minute ahead of the position 4. That is...
Yeah, crazy. Listoza just took his pit and is coming back out again. It looks like we had a drive-through penalty pop up for driver number 293, which is Botella. He must have sped into the pit a little bit too quickly. He's going to have to serve that one quickly before the end of the race here.
That's got to be a little bit frustrating. I mean, we did talk about that. The pit entry was, it's not the best design, if I'm honest.
Yeah, the pit is definitely tough. I definitely did that in the practice race. I got my wasn't even a drive-through. I got a 30-second stop and go for speeding into pit lane.
Oh, so you were speeding.
Must have been, yeah. Obviously, the game wasn't gonna let me have that. We're coming through. Silver drivers are still showing up with 5th through 9th all being silver, so we definitely have some fast silver drivers this season.
Certainly do. I mean, looking at the entire leaderboard, it looks like just a pretty even backline of silver and gold drivers, which is quite refreshing, honestly. And with the number of incidents and spinouts, and then taking into account the long straight, the advantage with top speed in the Ferrari versus other cars. I'm curious to see how the season plays out from here, as this was just track 1, race 1. If the silver drivers remain, mostly competitive, or if this was kind of like a one-off, or if people had more time to prepare, less time to prepare. It's going to be an interesting season, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It seems like a couple of these drivers made up a couple of positions there, so some of these pits really help some of these guys out. Looks like Adams lost a couple of positions when he pit. Definitely something to look out for, and part of the whole strategy thing here.
Oh, looking at 24th and 25th, Harold and Boonstra. Boonstra looks like she's trying to take 24th place from Harold. She's been going a little bit of a yo-yo here. Now it looks like she's falling a little bit behind. She was within 0.4 seconds. I wonder if maybe Harold spun out or something.
Yeah, he could have. Definitely a big possibility coming in. Like we've been reiterating over and over, the tire wear is gnarly on this track. Looks like we've been following along with GTG here for a while. He's made up another 3 positions since the last time we've seen. We'll see if he can pull off anything else before the end of this race.
More important now than ever, with 2.5 minutes left, to hold your. There goes the pit window. To hold your safe lines and hold your throttle and brake inputs to make sure you do not spin out this close to the end of the race, because this is it. You just have to make it across the finish line at this point.
Absolutely, we're coming into our last lap here coming up, and definitely part of the worry, especially that last lap, trying to hold your position. You can get a little bit greedy on some of these corners and just eat it around. It's a tough thing to balance out here. Got a couple of drivers that seems like they're still kind of chilling. It looks like Cryer made up a little bit. I know he was at the back of the pack not too long ago.
That's good to see.
But we still have Listoza sitting up at the front here still with a 17 second gap after his pit.
After his pit, wow, yeah. That's nice to see. It's not 40 seconds anymore.
Yeah, right.
But that's still a decent gap. He's really laying it down. Still posting 156s too. Oh no, I guess it looks like the top 5 are all posting in the 156s, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, we should be getting back down to quality levels of fuel too. This should, aside from all the tire wear, feel pretty natural to some of these guys that have obviously been putting in a lot of practice leading up to all this.
Yep, absolutely. Makes it more squirrely, but also makes it a little bit easier to maneuver. And hopefully all that practice everyone put in, they feel like it paid off. This has been quite an eventful race. Even if they've spun out, a lot of these drivers have really made up for lost time and lost positions.
Absolutely. It's a tough track to stay up on the entire time, but it seems like a lot of these drivers have done that and even better at times here too.
What are we at? This is about to be the finish of the race, right? Last lap.
Yeah, Listoza is coming back in Sector 3 here, getting ready to finish the race off for everyone. So we're starting to see pretty well finished things. We'll see if anyone tries to trade positions at the end here. It looks like Harold and GTG here back here may be close enough that Harold could try to pull something coming up, but it's definitely that last end rush. Boonstra falling up behind him. It's a 3-car train going into the last section here.
Ruzick and Daniels in 12th and 13th. Daniels is right on his bumper going into the long straight. Just absolutely riding it for everything it's got. Just hoping for an error, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. When you can get up and get up
Ruzick
and race
got a little
those
squirrely there. I thought he almost had or almost lost it. I was like, oh, there it is. But he caught it. He caught it. He's still holding it.
Yeah, it's tough holding it in this back section here. We're getting our finishers. Looks like Listoza, with no surprises, number 1 on the list here, followed by Smalley, Sercone, and Beverly. So number 5 is actually silver driver Ethan Marvin here. Seemed to hold out just fine and put himself for a nice 5th place finish at the end here.
Love to see it. Love to see it. That's fantastic.
Say we are
Coming
pretty much
across.
at the end here. Everyone's just crossing the
Daniel,
lap. Looks like Picard's the
Cards
next
across the
one.
finish line. Yep. Osborne. Here it goes.
Like Curtis just dropped back. Several drivers finishing up there, and it's just about over. It looks like White Scarver just crossed. GTG is about to cross. Looks like he's going to finish 21st. 22nd, sorry. It just updated again, so he did real good. He definitely made up a lot of time there on the second half of this race.
That is fantastic. That was an excellent race by all the drivers.
But yeah, just like that, that is
Ryan's last one coming across the line. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, your racers for the first race of Season 7, Division 4.
what an absolute race that was. That was incredibly exciting. What a way to start the season off here. Definitely no complaints. It was a very action-packed race and definitely kept us going to the end here. But we'll see if we can't ping some of these drivers and get Listoza and our silver winner in here too. We'll get Ethan if we can.
Yeah, let's see if we can get some thoughts and feelings from these racers that we can ping. Everyone checks out of the lobby. Oh, yeah, that was some good action throughout too. A couple of, incidents you hate to see, but also a lot of really good racing.
Absolutely, nothing that that is not expected in some of these races here. Looking to see if we can't see Listoza in here. See if we can't pull him up. I'm gonna pull Levine up here for his commentating on his first silver fifth place finish here.
Bring it in, bring it in.
Hey Elliot, how we doing? Maybe here.
Technical
Alright,
issues.
well I guess we have no comment from him. He dropped back out again.
His might have been having issues with his microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, is Listoza popping up into the race review there? We can pull him in and see how he feels about
I don't see him in here.
Yeah, he may be dropped out there.
Yeah, he might have had extenuating circumstances. Tends to happen.
Let's say we can always pull up a fan favorite and get GB3 in here for some commentary.
There we go.
Yeah, but the
Hey
question,
GB3.
how sweaty are you though?
How we doing?
What up?
Looking for some commentary. It looks like you and Sarah Cohn there were battling it out there for a while.
Oh, hello.
Traded positions back and forth a little bit.
Yeah. So I've said the 296 that in the hands of the right driver, those things are pretty fast, and he was the right driver. He was way faster than me on the backstretch. I was taking 10 wing, and so, but you'll notice is that he'll catch me on the long straight, but then that fast right-hander afterwards, I can get on it a little bit better than he can. So I was able to put pressure on him a couple times there, and then after he got by me, it was honestly really about trying to stay in his slipstream, and if I could do that, I could keep it close. But once he got out of 0.8, 0.8 seconds or whatever, and I dropped it, I knew I wouldn't be able to catch back up to him. So
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like your guys' pit strategy is a bit different than maybe what was expected this year, waiting really far to the end. How were your tires doing on the track throughout this race?
so tires actually felt good up until the pit stop. When I looked at the end of the race, I think my lowest value was like 1.8. So I mean, I was definitely getting down to it towards the end. But generally, I mean, there was enough battling going where, I knew I wasn't going to be doing, the 55 pace anyway, and so the tires actually didn't feel terrible.
That's
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
sorry.
gonna say
Go ahead.
I appreciate the commentary. You got any other comments, Toasty?
No,
Uh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no worries. I just want to, thank you guys for donating your time tonight. One of the big things I wanted last season in D5, and the reason why it's sauna time from Tuesday to Tuesday is I want to be able to watch this back, and you guys are making that happen. So I'm glad I got into D4, and glad I had a good race. Qualifying is usually my tough spot, but I was able to focus in and get in the top 5. So appreciate you guys for what you do. Thank everyone in D4. Y'all the best, and I'm excited for the next race.
Absolutely. Have a good one, man. We look forward
Yep.
to following along with you as we keep going on track here.
That
Yep.
we
Thanks,
do.
guys.
That we do.
Have a good one.
Later.
Say, I feel like we need to grab GTG after we've been following his progress and see how he felt about some of those. He really did good towards the end there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Holding your own towards the end of the race that's gotta be one of the most grueling and frustrating parts,
Absolutely.
but also
We'll
the most
see.
rewarding.
We'll see what he has to say here. Hey, Jobber, how we doing?
All right, what's going on?
Hey, not too much. So, just wanted to get some comments from you after we've been following along with your race coming here. It looks like you were pretty consistent and were making up good positions all throughout the race.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a little bit of early accidents, but from that, I decided I just better go ahead and take a pit, get some repairs, get everything situated, and then just try and get some straight hot lapping in to basically try and catch up some time, make up some positions and stuff, and especially while I'm hoping other people are going to be pitting during that time while I'm out hot lapping. That way, I can make some clean passes and actually try and make up a little more time.
Absolutely, you did a great job. If we were following along correctly, you went from 28th or 30th to 22nd at the end of the race there. So you're able to keep it real consistent all throughout the race. We were enjoying following along with you. So how were your tires doing throughout the entire race? Just trying to get some different perspectives.
Honestly, they felt pretty good. I ran it closer to about a 27 psi all around. I heard that runs pretty good on high-speed tracks like this one. So they actually held up pretty good for me, pretty through everything. I still think everything showed about 80%. So I was happy with them.
Absolutely. Did you take any sort of tire change or just repair your damage there?
No, but I only took the damage repairs, no tire changes, 1 liter of fuel, and you splash and dash, right?
Impressive. Yeah, absolutely. Good job. Do you got any comments, Toaster?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say, like, thanks for proving that point of consistency is key. Like you said, you had a bit of a rough start, and then you held it together through the rest of the race and made up good time with good strategy. So it's nice to see, and nice to see that it paid off for you.
That sounds good. Thank y'all.
Hey, have
Thank
a good
you.
one, man.
You too.
But yeah, absolutely. That was a good race to watch there. It was definitely tough at times, but seems like a lot of these drivers are really quick, and it's going to make for a really interesting season as we continue. I mean, this is just the first race at 8, so I can't wait to continue commentating with everything.
Yeah, especially so every track has its unique things, and I think you said this in the pre-race that there's a couple surprise tracks and surprise situations in the tracks with the nighttime, I think, and then there's wet races. And it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, where people have their strengths in certain situations and their weaknesses in others, and how the leaderboard fluctuates as we go through these races over the next 8 weeks now. It's going to be really good.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see it. But yeah, I think we're about ready to bring everything to a close here. So, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of SRA, and I'm really excited to be commentating D4 now. It's going to be a lot of fun following along with these drivers, and like we said at the start of the race, being able to steal some of their strategies, hopefully to make me faster over here in D7. So.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I took notes the entire race.
Let's say,
That was
Notes,
beautiful.
We must maybe a couple of seasons from now we can be in the same boat here. So
I mean, right? We can
But-
dream.
exactly, that's really what matters here. But with that being said, I think we're ready to sign off. So with that being said, everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GP3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. Oh, Berg, we have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there on the chicane as a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.